pistache of horror themes.
Pastiche. A pistachio.
A pistachio.
Of horror
A
themes.
pistachio. A pistache of horror themes.
Pastiche.
Snaggletooth theme courtesy of Gustav Jord
There's a tit. See the tit?
of De Fleshed.
Sorry.
A pastiche of
there it
horror themes,
Okay.
industrial beats, black metal leanings, and
Leanings.
a partridge. What the fuck? What is wrong with
I think
me?
our intro is already done. All day long, it's been da-da-da-da-ba-ba-da-da-da around the house. Why don't we play a song from Dawn of Ashes, The Despondent Hole, which would be a good way of describing the girl that I took to senior prom.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.
That time of year
Yeah.
when I'm actually going to have to stop online shopping because it's always this time of year. I put things in my cart.
Yeah.
And then when I go to check out, they're like, delivery January 4th. And I'm like, never mind.
There has to be a cutoff at some
Yeah,
point.
I used to always do the Kohl's thing every year. Like you go and you would shop and then they would give you Kohl's cash to come back and spend after the holiday. And I would
Yep.
always then, buy something for me. But I don't know. Their shit never held up well at all. I didn't think like their clothes and shoes.
I think they're
Shoes would last like a year. Well, you have to do the coupons. It's like everything else
Kohl's
these days.
cash. Yeah.
The Kohl's cash and the coupons. They always have coupons in their app or whatever. It's just such a big game. But, since I discovered stuff like Shine and Fashion Nova, use their discounts. You don't have to stand in line and have a little kid wipe his nose on your shorts. But I was just thinking about them because I was just telling you, I had a pair of jeans from them and I actually had a couple pair back about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when the style was the really low cut on the
She was
women's
15.
jeans.
She was 15 then. Go ahead.
And they were great as long as you stood still. But as soon as you move around or sit down, your butt crack came out. They were horrible. I'm so glad this style went away. Although, I don't like the ones really high either. Like mid-rise is fine. But I still had a couple of pair of these. And I was cleaning with them on today. And I kept hiking them up because they kept falling down. I just hiked them up for the very last time and the whole ass ripped out. So goodbye, James.
My ex sent me to Kohl's one time to buy some stuff for her someone's birthday or something. And I went to go check out and they handed me the Kohl's cash and I was like, what the fuck is this? This isn't money. Like, no, it's Kohl's cash. I was like, whatever. The only good thing about Kohl's to me is the restrooms. And during the Christmas season, they're open till midnight. So I remember when I'd be out after a concert or something like that and I was dying for a piss. I thought, Kohl's will be open. And they have such courteous, shiny porcelain. So yeah, that's my only exposure to Kohl's, unfortunately.
Well, that and they accept Amazon returns without a box, a bag, anything.
Really?
They'll just take them. And after they do it, they hand you a coupon. I'm like, God damn it. Now I got to buy something.
My ex had a charge card from them. Their interest rate was like
Yeah.
mob level.
I
Mob
opened one of
level.
them at Christmas and when
25%.
I closed it.
The interest was ridiculous. I wanted to kill her.
Yeah,
Don't get me started.
that's how it makes up for all the coupons.
Interest rate, an arm and a leg. That's what it says.
Yeah, that's really horrible. Super
All
horrible.
right, let me warn everyone before we get started. This wonderful woman sometimes backs into a situation without knowing it. We were going to do an interview with another individual, and it turns out that Sweetheart just casually mentioned that this individual had a connection to Van Morrison. And I went, what? I haven't listened to Van Morrison in years. So all day long, it's been da-da-da-da-ba-ba-da-da-da-da around the house. So there's probably going to be a lot of Van Morrison adjacent commentary and dance moves we woven into this show. So just be forewarned. I know it's not very Decay, but I just can't stand it. G-L-O-R-I-A. I'm ready. So
No, we just got
this
back.
is just caffeine, no alcohol.
We just got back from the Pacific Northwest and we had quite the adventure in the cold and the muck and the no sunshine state.
We brought it back with
Which
us.
state is the sunshine state?
California. Right?
It's definitely not Seattle, Washington.
No, it's not. And it wasn't Maryland when we got back either.
No, and then while we were away, I had various children and my mother taking care of our doggie, who you will often see here sitting next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Jax.
you know, to come get him out and get him a walk and make sure, because he drinks all the time. His water's empty, and I worry about him. When my one son came to very nicely take care of him and did a great job, we have like a keypad lock, and then there's a bottom lock that's like a key, and we never use it. We always just use the keypad, because it's a deadbolt. He hit the bottom lock, so when my mother came to take care of the dog, she couldn't get in. She calls me. I think were we still in Seattle? I can't remember, or Oregon. And we're literally the farthest away from our state you can get in this country without leaving
swimming.
the country.
Swimming on the Pacific, yeah.
Without leaving the country. We're literally on the opposite coast. And my mom says she can't get in. We have the key. I checked with my youngest.
It's a lock. We never lock it.
Key.
We never lock it.
He doesn't have one. So she got a locksmith to get the door open. Because she was worried. Jax isn't, he's not a puppy. And he's not big enough to drink out of the toilet like the cats do anyway. Our one weird cat insists on, when I water the Yule tree, he drinks the water.
Even though he has fresh water.
Yeah.
Even though he has fresh water, he likes to drink the pine water.
He likes pine flavored water.
Whatever.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like bubbly to him. I don't know. Every time I water the tree, he's over there loudly slurping. And I'm like, really? That's for the tree.
So the locksmith said for a discounted rate, he would just drill through the lock, which actually turned out to be fine because it's only like a $10 lock anyway.
Yeah, and the dog was saved.
I can charge you $85 and actually open it, or I can just drill through it and you'll have to get another $10 lock. That math wasn't that difficult.
Oh, God.
But all's well that ends well. Animals became hydrated and we returned safely from the Pacific Northwest. So that worked out well. So anyway, we had a lot of time in the car. We drove for hours. We flew for hours and came up with some concepts that I'd like to discuss. First of all, I was thinking, you started it because we were talking about dating apps, and you kind of said that there's this illusion of quality if you pay as opposed to free.
No, I don't know if everyone has that, but here was my theory, because everyone kept saying, "Oh, we'll use Plenty of Fish; it's free." But then I thought, Match, you have to pay to get on there, so you've got to be more serious.
Yeah.
No. Not true.
That reminds me, in the world of tech apps for the show, for editing software, for audio, video, whatever, I am the same way. The illusion of paying and getting quality. Sometimes I'll go ahead and pay, get a subscription, and then I'll mess with something free, and I'd be like, God damn it, the free shit's better. Just never know. You can't tell whether free is going to be better or pay is going to be better. But in the back of your mind, you always think, if I pay, I've got to be getting the best right now. Not necessarily. No. Especially with dating apps and tech and really anything online, you just don't know. So, but all right. So I thought of some things. These are some things that you would not want to get a 15% off coupon for. Okay.
Or that you won't.
That you won't be offered. And I don't think you would want it if you were. So here we go.
Or Kohl's Cash.
Let's start off with this. A cremation. I don't think you're going to have any. It's probably very expensive, but I don't think that you want a cut rate cremation. Well, we got most of the body burned. Don't forget you got a coupon. I don't think that would go well.
I used to actually
couldn't quite fit Uncle John into the urn.
That's when the cut rate is when they put you in the coffee can, like the Big Lebowski.
Right, exactly.
Folgers can.
What was the movie with Robert Downey Jr. where they actually brewed the coffee? It was like, this coffee's terrible. Oh my God, that's ashes. I think it's called Road Trip or something.
Yeah.
It's him and Zach.
Yeah, it's horrible.
This is the worst coffee ever.
I actually worked for this really shady company when I was in college.
Yeah.
We would call people,
and
my job was to do the survey, and I would explain to them that this was for this. It was a cemetery. I won't say the name.
Yeah.
But I was calling to determine our future expansion needs. It sounds really creepy. Are you close to dying? Are you dead yet? But I would ask them a series of questions, like if they were married, how long they had lived in the area. And I was really good at getting people to finish the surveys, the more surveys I got done, the higher rate of pay I got.
The lower your neckline, the higher rate of pay you got.
No one could see me there.
Oh, okay.
But it just was really, really creepy because I also knew that there were people behind me called setters.
Mhm.
And if the people met certain criteria on the survey, like they had lived in the area, more than 10 years and they were married, they would call them up and basically say that they had been selected to receive one free plot. But because they were married, we knew that the salesman would talk them into two. Side by
Interesting.
side. It was so sketchy. It was so gross. The guy I worked for was Clay C. Clay. The whole thing was just so sketch. I didn't do it very long. I couldn't. I felt slimy when I left. It was like lying to people all
All
day.
right, so something else you're never going to get a 15% off coupon for is your water bill. There is no discount. Have you ever fucked up and had them turn your water off?
No, but I paid it once or twice. But
No, I don't do well. I do well with monthly bills. I'm not good with quarterly bills. If I get it and it's not due for 3 months, it's probably just going to get buried in papers. So I will tell you, there were a couple of times when the kids were young, I saw the truck pull up out front and I saw the guy get the thing out that shuts it off. And let me tell you, those guys don't want to negotiate at all at that point when you're that late. So I have screwed up a couple times. And when I moved to a smaller town, I found out you could get the water turned back on same day if you went and paid at the office. But the larger town that I was in when that happened, we didn't have water for a couple of days. Yeah. The fam was real happy with me about that. I tell you. Yeah.
I never had the water turned off. On occasion, because I couldn't afford it when I was a single mom and the kids would call me at work freaking out because they got home from school. And back then we only had the satellite TV. You didn't have Netflix and alternative streaming platforms. So if the DirecTV was off, they couldn't watch TV. So they'd call me flipping out and I'd be on hold with DirecTV waiting to pay. And they would usually turn that back on as soon as I paid.
Yeah, that kind of stuff usually does. But the water's usually a government affair and they don't always move so quickly.
And
how about good?
And BG&E, I never got it shut off, but I got it right down to literally where I was really late or I had to ask for an extension.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the one time I was working in downtown Baltimore and I got an address where I could pay it in person because I had to pay it that day. And I finally got paid. And on my lunch break,
was it Cockeysville? Did you go to the place?
No, it was downtown. I was working
I was in the same boat
near Saratoga.
I used to go to Cockeysville to pay money. Was it like a check cashing place?
It was, it was like a check
place,
cashing place, convenience store.
It was not a place that was fun to be at.
But I was walking, through Baltimore. And at the time I had a big puffy gold jacket that my ex-husband hated, so I wore it all the time. And I was very freshly divorced back then. And as I was walking through, I was getting these hoots and hollers. I was like in heels and a skirt.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the block. And for those of you who don't know what the block is, it's this district in Baltimore, which is filled with, dance clubs.
Gentlemen's clubs.
Yeah. That's where I had to walk through to get to this place. I didn't realize it. I was just following the GPS on my phone.
If you go on our Patreon, I'll give you some recommendations for places on the block.
You don't want to go anywhere down there. They're not good. It's not like South Carolina where they're classy. They're not classy there. So anyway, that was fun. Fun was paying bills.
Yes. Well, you're not going to get 15% off a traffic ticket either.
Occasionally they do offer an amnesty day, but I think that's for speeding tickets.
Really?
Or maybe it's traffic tickets. I don't know. Every once in a while they'll offer an amnesty day or pay,
pull out a coupon.
Yeah.
For a traffic ticket. Aha.
I haven't heard of one of them in a while though.
How about a personal injury lawsuit?
Well, Better Call Saul had his business cards, remember? Oh, that was 15% off a felony. Or half off a felony. Half off. Remember they were running around doing that, yelling half off. Yeah.
Of course, Better Call Saul got there before I did. Look at that. Of course. All right, how about this one? 15% off a colonoscopy.
Nobody wants one of those to begin with.
Like you're not sure who to go to? Well, here's a coupon. Oh, well, this clinches it.
Yeah, I was coming to for my colonoscopy.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor told me that my colon was amazing. So I can put that on my resume now. I don't know what that does for you.
Believe it or not, that was not what attracted me to you. How about a driver's license renewal?
Yeah, you're never getting out of that.
Yeah, they're not going to give you 15% off driver's license renewal. You're lucky to get out of there with a half decent picture. Most people don't.
The only discount we got is the time we registered my son's car as a historic, so we didn't have to pay the registration fee or something.
But then tell the full story about your asshole
I was also
ex.
dating a guy who was a cop,
yeah,
and he threatened to write him a ticket.
Because when you have a historic, I didn't even know
You're not
this.
supposed to drive it every day.
Right. You can't like have historic tags, and you're supposed to just like drive it on the weekends or in parades or whatever.
Yeah, well, big
But
deal. He was
nobody
driving it
enforces
back and
that
forth to
fucking
high
law.
school.
Yeah.
One
But
car.
this guy was that much of a tool that he was actually going to write him up for it. Nice guy.
I was like, you can,
His girlfriend's son, he's going to give him a ticket. What a guy. So,
yeah, you can. I'm sure that's breaking crime right there.
yeah. About a divorce, I can tell you, you will not get any percentage off a divorce, even if, without getting me started, my divorce attorney fucked up huge many times. And in fact, they helped themselves to more funds. So, yeah. Colleges do not give you any kind of percentage off.
Unless you're an American Indian, then I think you can get a
But then you get
scholarship.
in. Oh, you can get a scholarship. That's true. Yeah. But I mean, not only are they not required to provide you with any type of a job opportunity, they just take your money and, there's a line to get in, apparently.
You have to FAFSA.
Yeah.
That's no fun at all.
No, I've done it too. Yeah. Postage?
Yeah, postage stamps.
Why the hell would you even need a percentage off for that?
Wouldn't it be great though? Around the holidays, they could offer 15% off your postage stamps.
That's when they're doing the most business. I think that's when they survive the year.
The closest they get to a sale is when they do those forever stamps because the postage rate's gonna go up. So you buy like 50 million of them so you can use the postage at the original rate without paying extra. That's as close as you get to a sale.
What about your technique of getting auto repair discounts?
I did not do this on purpose, but again, I was single mom of 3 small kids, had a problem with my car. I thought it was just going to be a simple brake repair. It turns out it was the head gasket, and the guy was telling me the bad news and that it was going to be $700-800, and I didn't mean it. I just burst into tears because I didn't have it and I didn't know what I was going to do. All of a sudden, he said he would do it for $300.
The Waterworks discount.
I didn't know that. That also happened with Roto-Rooter when they came to get just a clogged drain undone. He said it would be $250, and I said, okay, well, I'm gonna have you come back when I get paid. And he said, all right, I'll do it for $100. And I thought, I did not know this was negotiable.
Yeah. Well, this has been items you will not see a discount with Mark and Stace. So I work for a large manufacturing company, and I'm required to go to these very boring meetings that talk about manufacturing plants and what they're up to and building plants and whatever else. So it was getting late in the day, and this is an excerpt from something that someone read with an absolute straight face. While the machine was able to maintain optimal thrust at the drive shaft, we soon discovered steady vibrations at the rear penetration point, which began to swell. The erection schedule dictated that we had to keep things running, so we exposed the nipples on the press and applied lubrication. Luckily, this didn't arouse any suspicions about the size and depth of our maintenance program. And I thought, wow, I really miss Stace. I haven't seen her in a while.
This sounds like one of my friends.
It's like manufacturing porn.
One of my friend K.L. Ramsey's books. She writes great books, by the way.
There's a lot of optimal thrust at their drive shaft.
Yeah. So. This came out with a Christmas series. It's a grumpy old man or a grumpy man for Christmas, something, and a cowboy for Christmas. So,
what about your neighbor?
Oh God, we had a neighbor who was always, out demonstrating or had signs on his property, and he went out and solicited and got the county to put a stop sign in our neighborhood, and then he was going door to door inviting everyone to his erection party. Like, you might want to stop saying that. It sounds like a whole different kind of party.
Welcome to my erection party. Okay, shall we talk about the feature interview this week?
I would love to. In fact, I wore princess sleeves in honor of our guest.
Our guest is the Lord Zippy Blaine Cook, or just Blaine Cook if you like. He was the frontman for the legendary Seattle thrashcore band The Accused for over 2 decades. But that's not all.
No, that's not all. In addition from being some of the, city's most influential punk and metal bands, he once also had a successful restaurant for years with his wife, which was Zippy's Giant Burgers.
A very fine burger establishment.
which since unfortunately due to pandemic and other issues has closed. But he continues to press on. He's just this nonstop bundle of energy.
Yep.
He's always embarking on new endeavors. He still lives in West Seattle, and he keeps that splatter rock flowing with both the Accused AD and his band Toe Tag. In addition, he also has a show on YouTube called The Wicker Bar, where he will show you and also tell a few interesting stories how to make different cocktails. And he has a brand new self-published recipe book / graphic novel, Cocktails and Mixed Drinks from the Wicker Bar. Each of the 25 recipes in this book are accompanied by an original illustration solicited from fans of the Accused AD. And safe to say, there's no other cocktail book out there like this one. You can get it on his
Ours
website.
is signed. Yours is not.
$15 free shipping. Lots of great stuff in there. And get over to his YouTube channel. I love his videos.
Blaine is the man. So you can look forward to that. You'll hear about everything from Toe Tag to The Accused to Tales from the Wicker Bar.
And Toe Tag put out a new album this year, Pourquoi?
And you'll learn what that means. I had no idea. So stay tuned for that. So let's play an Accused song. Why don't you introduce it?
Let's play an Accused song to get this party started from their incredible 1990 crossover album, Grinning Like an Undertaker. This is Pounding Nails into the Lid of Your Coffin.
Here comes the night. Okay, it's Patreon time. This week, we're going to be adding some exclusive content to our Patreon page for our Patreon subscribers. Our top 10 adjacent albums of 2022. So we're about to give you our top 10 of this year. But we've also got a smattering of other must-hear records. And we'll go through all of those on the Patreon page. So be sure to check that out. It's patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcasts. Also stop by our Instagram pages, Snaggletooth Decay, and say hi on our Facebook page. We need a like. We need $6.66 a month. Come and see us. Come and pay.
Yeah, we always are adding new things into this program as it seems. We have the Snaggletooth behind us now.
That's a very young Blaine.
Looking good. Still looks the same. Just a little less hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're constantly adding things and making this show better. We can only make it better with your help. So we make it worth your while with the exclusive content, the exclusive merch,
Picture
lots
of Mark
of great
and Stace,
stuff for you.
A picture of Mark and Stace in high school at the homecoming dance together,
circa 1987.
Yeah.
And also we're constantly adding new and different things. So get on over there, give us a like, make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing.
Yeah. And without further ado, we'll start off with Stacy's Snaggletooth Decay top 10 albums of 2022.
All right. So number 10, I could not, after seeing them live, Castrator, Defiled in Oblivion. This is an all-girl death metal band. They are just amazing.
They put on a hell of a show.
And you can tell they're a little young. But their show was amazing. They seemed a little nervous at first, but once they got going, music was amazing.
That is the best moniker for an all-female death metal band, Castrator. I love it. So anyway, moving on.
Number 9, Goat Whore, Angels Hung from the Arches of Heaven.
Yeah, our buddy, who's our homeboy, that's going to love that you just said this.
Metal Pirate.
Yeah. Metal Pirate, and that one's for you.
So this is another extremely tight, amazing offering from Goat Whore. They are back and badder than ever, so check this one out.
Okay.
All right, this one I had to include number 8, Parkway Drive.
They're Australian, as everyone knows.
They're all Australian.
Just like Iocane Powder.
They're 2022 Darker Still, and they're crazy shows with all the fire. So they also have incredible music. Number 7, I had to put in here back from season 1, Crysis Full HD, which we have somewhere.
With 3D glasses. Yes.
I've never had this kind of metal with this much humor. They really bring
They're
it.
the ultimate pizza thrash band.
They are.
We
Literally.
love their videos.
They used to deliver pizza. But yeah, definitely get over there. Check out their videos. Check out their music. They're awesome.
Okay.
Coming in at 6, we didn't really cover this band a whole terrible lot.
We just did a Sounds of Decay.
Yeah, but I really like Haas. All That Was Promised. They come up on my liked playlist quite
I think
often.
that was a language barrier. I think I was going to do an interview, but he was worried about his English or something.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
'Cause
That's all right.
It's an amazing record. It is.
It's
I wore
really
it the
good.
fuck out. I did.
The tattooy art on the front to the
Right.
great music within.
Definitely one of the
Awesome.
best of the year. Yeah.
Number 5 comes in at Anti-Gamma. Whiteout, which we did also in season 1, but I could not make this list. Every time I hear this music, I'm like,
It's the only interview we ever
Anti-Gamma.
did with a guy in a hammock. Polish grind doesn't get any better than Anti-Gamma, folks.
yeah, great drummer for about 52 bands, I think.
Yeah.
but
Well,
he's-
drummers are popular.
yeah, and apparently rare.
Yeah.
4, Inhuman Condition, Fear Sick. I
Mhm.
love every song on this album, every single one.
Great guys. The interview's great. Couple episodes back. Check it out. Great guys.
Yeah, I think I was blue then.
Carrying on the tradition of Chuck Schuldiner.
Coming in at number 3, started out here locally, Dog Fashion Disco. Their new offering, Cult Classic, is just another niche in their belt. They just really bring that tongue-in-cheek occult. They bring the metal.
Maybe the best musicians of
They are.
anyone we've interviewed. Just
Um,
unbelievably tight. They go from thrash to death to cabaret rock in the blink of an eye. I mean, they are entertaining. They are as demented as we are. We love DFD.
lots of nods to favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Exhumed, To the Dead. Again, after seeing them live, after talking with Matt, what an amazing story they've had. He's been at this since he was 15, and he has not lost an inch. This is an incredible album.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, great show. Matt's a great guy, and he said that we were well preserved. So
Number 1, I had to go with The Fleshed, Grind Over Matter. Again,
we love you, Gus.
an amazing offering. After being away, they're back. They just were in Japan
Yeah.
slaying,
Yeah.
having a great tour. So we're very excited that they're back. This album is amazing. We have that one somewhere too. Heads on Spikes. We love it.
Yeah. Okay, great list. Here's my top 10. I was really surprised how much great stuff there was this year in Decay. It was very difficult for me to put this together. So, and I left some stuff out probably, so I apologize up front, but I'm gonna start with number 10, Needless, The Cosmic Cauldron. I think their first album's a little better, but this band is incredible. I mean, just concept albums, just taking the lead of Voivod further with incredible riffs and great songs, roller coaster changes. I love Needless. So number 9 should not be a surprise. Gaira,
Love 'em.
Mirage. I think we talk about this band every other week. Just taking black metal just further into experimental territory. Love the costumes, love the whole visual component. Great record, Mirage. Number 8 from Georgia, Sadistic Ritual, The Enigma Boundless.
Good.
We featured them a few weeks back on Sounds of Decay. Not a bad song on the record. Experimental death metal, very, very good. Number 7, we go to Japan, Asuna Jokai, the album Island. Again, love the artwork. A lot of different influences in there. We got some black gaze, we got some metalcore. You know, we talked about it at length a few shows back, but incredible band. Number 6 should not be a surprise. Autopsy, Morbidly Triumphant.
Mhm.
Pretty much, if there's an Autopsy album that comes out, it's going to hit my top 10. They are one of the most consistent and legendary OSDM bands that has ever existed. Number 5, this is going to surprise you. This is a band that we have not brought up yet, but we will today. Suppression from Chile. I cannot stop listening to this album. The Sorrow of Soul Through Flesh. That's all I'm going to say for now, because we're going to feature them later in the show.
And it's a shun. I see you have 2 shuns.
It's the shun, yes. Number 4, Black Braid 1. Again, I will get this on vinyl someday. But the combination of the tribal language, the tribal stories, the folk edge, and the black metal, as well
Corpse
as
paint.
the visual component is great. Love me some Black Braid. Can't stop listening to it. Number 3, Deathspell Omega, The Long Defeat. What can you say about Deathspell? Again, sort of like Autopsy. They're going to be there. They're amazingly consistent. They always take it to the edge. Their songs are epic. The drumming is just insane. And then, of course, you have the whole mystery element. Who are Deathspell Omega? Nobody really knows for sure. Number 2, Vigadude, There's Always Blood at the End of the Road. I was surprised how quickly this one rocketed up my top 10. I want to see this band live really bad. So if they come anywhere near here, I am there. Vigadude is incredible. And my number 1 album of 2022 is Immolation, Act of God. I have never stopped listening to it since it first dropped. Again, the drumming, it's even better than the last album. This is a band that is amazingly consistent over decade after decade. Immolation rules. So there you go. There's Mark's top 10. And if you'd like to hear some more, there's a lot of titles that we are leaving out that you're going to want to know about. So check out patreon.com/Snaggletooth podcast and you'll get some bonus content there.
Lots of honorable mentions and stuff that might be coming up in 2023.
Okay, let's introduce another song.
So now let's play another Accused from the classic 1987 album.
That was a good year.
It was a very good year. More fun than an open casket funeral. It's like a nice Cliff Richards cover on a Splatter 4 record. This is Devil Woman.
Maybe we'll just let the insert play here. Remember that
Satan's got a yarn to fit just such a night as this.
We'll start this song.
Satan, tell everyone to douse their lights.
Okay, so again, because this mind never rests on anything ridiculous. The last time you and I went out for steak dinner, remember we got that Longhorn gift certificate and we had to wait and they called our name. When they called our name, it occurred to me for the reservation that I was toying with the idea of coming up with some false names to give when we make reservations, like at the restaurant or at the barista, because they have to say whatever name you give them over the intercom. And my childish mind couldn't help but come up with a few that I think would be great. So what do you think of these? Okay, ready?
All right.
Eileen Askew, your table is now available. Caramel latte for sage advice. Reservation for Jocelyn breasts. I like that one. Table for 2, Luna module and summer clearance. Your table's now available. How about this one? Patient name, Nevia bin Laid. How about you? You got a few these are real names.
Yeah, we have actual patient names, which
That first one, good luck with that.
yeah, this woman, when she called in and I asked her to spell her name, she just kept saying letters at me. And I thought, when is this going to stop?
And 10 minutes later.
But it's Anastasia Neponyashskaya.
That's a mouthful.
Not to be rivaled by a little sweet Asian woman. Her name is OK Soon, which I always wondered if people walk up to her and say, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Of course I am."
Mark, you coming to lunch? Okay, soon.
This poor woman. We also literally had a woman, her name was Sweetie T, but it was T-E-A-H.
Is that a nickname or that's her real name?
No, that is the name.
Sweetie is on her birth certificate?
Yep.
Okay.
It's on her insurance card.
Wow.
And this one too, Teeny Mae Murray. She's a little old lady, and I thought, there's no way this woman is actually teeny. That's what's on her Medicare card. Teenie. Teeny.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That last one would be great with Riker Zyland or Isabel Worthringing. All right. Well, this has been Oddball Names with Mark and Stace. So I think we're ready to talk about Hum Nutrition.
All right. Our sponsor, Hum Nutrition. I have a bunch of things right here. We can talk about our favorites. We do both take these every day. This is Red Carpet for glowing skin and shiny hair. It has black currant seed oil and gamma linoleic acid and vitamin E. The best part about Hum Nutritionals is they really work. Look, I have never had thicker hair than this in my entire life, and I have a lot of fine hair. And given the state of age I am now, this should technically be getting thinner. It isn't. Great product.
What's going to happen when you hit 30?
I know. Skinny Bird is also an amazing product. Has ingredients that actually work, not just that hype you up and make you burn energy because you're shaking. It won't hype you up. There's no caffeine. There's no ADH medication in here. It's just science. There's ingredients like green tea that help you burn fat quicker. There's that special ingredient that goes into your brain and tells you, hey, you're full. It's called 5-HTP. And then you have Caralluma fibrata, which also kind of quells any stress eating you might have out the window by. This is great if you're trying to look for that final product, along with, of course, your exercise and nutrition. This will get you over the top for your few digressions.
Speaking of fine hair, I don't think Blaine Cook has ever had a haircut. My God, that's some hair.
So Wingman, you can't leave this one out. For those that tend to imbibe, we might. This has milk thistle, and it actually helps detoxify your liver. So these are great products. There are many products over at Hum Nutrition. You can take a quiz on their website. They have actual dermatologists to answer your questions if you're unsure which products are right for you. Use our link, get $20 off your first order of $39 or more.
That sounds like it's time for Wax of Contrition. And I figured I'd pull out a very spicy meatball today for you guys. Honestly, we'll start off with Dark Throne's Under a Funeral Moon picture disc. See if I can find it. Yeah. Yes, Dark Throne, Under a Funeral Moon. Now, honestly, if you're not familiar with Fenriz and Nocturno at this point, I don't know what the fuck what the fook are you doing listening to this podcast? What do you say about Dark Throne? Of course, I have just about everything from the 90s on multiple formats, but this one is very special. It's a picture disc of Under a Funeral Moon, their third full length from 1993. If you hold it up, you can almost hear the leaky exhaust guitar buzz, the sewer-toned croaky vocals, the retooled Celtic Frost riffing. The last song, Crossing the Triangle of Flames, is awesome. I am Lucifer. So, interestingly, I actually made Stace listen to Goat Lord the other day. I freaking love that record. I know a lot of people don't. And do I have it on vinyl? We might have to see next week. But it's pure demented genius. And like I said, I mean, Dark Throne, they kind of lost me a little bit in the 2000s, but there's really no Dark Throne from the 90s decade that isn't worth exploring. I love Panzerfaust. Like I said, obviously I love Under a Funeral Moon. Let's play a song. Why don't you introduce it?
All right, we're going to play a song from Dark Throne. This is Summer of the Diabolical Holocaust.
Okay, Wax of Contrition continues. Now,
this is a weird one.
Some of you may wonder, why do I say Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast, not Extreme Metal Podcast?
Uh-oh.
It's things like this. Because I feel that this is extreme music. It's extreme, but it's not metal. And I'm talking about none other than Ennio Morricone, one of the most prolific and consistent score composers ever. He happens to be from Italy. Most artists that I find that are uber prolific tend to throw quality out the window, like the Melvins, Frank Zappa, who else? Anyway, you get the idea. If you're putting out Merzbow, if you put out so much material, you're going to have some lackluster stuff. But that is not the case with Morricone. Now, he's best known for this song. Everyone knows this song. If you've watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or you go into a Metallica show, you know this song, or you know about the most interesting man in the world. But
spaghetti westerns.
The man has written over 400 scores, and everything I've ever heard from him is always full of an eerie mood, spectacular performances, sexy overtones. His more popular scores include, obviously, the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Ecstasy of Gold that we just played for you, as well as Sergio Leone's films, all of his spaghetti westerns up through A Fistful of Dollars. So many of his spaghetti western soundtracks from the 70s are worth exploring. My favorite is 1971's Guila Testa, which translates into "Duck You Sucker." But it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, But the best stuff from Morricone is the B movie type scores, like, because he'll do an incredible soundtrack for a movie that sounds kind of silly, like 1973's A Lizard in Woman's Skin, or 1977's Death Drive, or the soundtrack to Exorcist 2, one of the worst sequels ever made, but the music is fantastic. So, and then there's this one, 1971's Madalena. Booming organs, cooing female orgasms, rumbling drums. This is extreme music, kiddos. Here's the movie's plot, if you look it up. A sensuous woman who tries desperately to seduce a tormented priest. Does this not fit on this show? Yes, it does. Get the popcorn. So let's play a song. This song, Listen for the Orgasm, is Erotico Mystico. Morricone. Okay. I think it's time to introduce our interview with Mr. Cook. Would you like to say in a few words?
Yes, this is our interview with Lord Zippy. We were so happy to get him on the show. I love Toe Tag. I love The Accused AD. I love The Wicker Bar. Pretty much everything this man's done has been fantastic. And, he just continues to put out music and, again, hasn't lost an inch.
Blaine, we need some hot pepper drinks, please. Hot pepper cocktails. I got a freezer full of habaneros. Please, we appeal to your wisdom.
Without further ado,
this is the interview with Blaine. It's great. It's been many years since we conversed, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, well, I'm still here.
Me too.
Right. Some people would wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately, like the ever ready.
Later on, we're going to play a game called Mark Holds Shit Up, and Blaine says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have that." So be ready, because I've got a ton of shit.
Honestly talking, I'll be the ghost of Toe Tag Future, and he'll be the accused ghost of past.
Ghost of past.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because Mark, of course, introduced me to you guys. I was completely blown away and I was listening to Paraquat. You guys haven't lost an inch at all. Where does that energy come from? Coffee or?
I don't know. I guess we just do our thing. I mean, that's pretty much it's paraquat is what it is. So paraquat was a chemical that in the 1970s the United States government went down into Mexico and South America, and they were spraying it on the marijuana fields down there as well as the poppy fields. And me being a little bit older, that was kind of like one of these urban myth things that you would get paraquat tainted marijuanas. I've smoked marijuana for a long time, but you'd get this paraquat tainted marijuana. And then later on, that same paraquat was also used. It's used as an herbicide. And if you happen to have a digital antenna at home and you watch a lot of these commercials from lawyers, there's, one of these new class action lawsuits about blah, 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 blah. So that's what, I mean, I think kind of like the music that we make now. Alex, I play Alex Maggot Brain, Alex Sebald as the guitar player for Toe Tag, and he was the bass player during the splatter rock era of The Accused, and he writes all the music. I think one of the things with what we do right now is we don't we kind of do this as kind of more for ourselves. So we're not necessarily, we don't have to pigeonhole ourselves into like writing like one style of music or one type of a song. So it's just kind of like whatever, we do some short, fast ones. We do some that are kind of stony, more Black Sabbath-y.
Definitely.
I guess I don't know.
Cool.
We try to retain, our youthful enthusiasm, as we move on into our golden years.
I'll tell you that paraquat stuff. I watched all the Narcos. I feel like I should know that,
Yeah.
I feel.
I don't think they cover that.
See that, right?
Yeah. All that time watching Narcos, I should know these things.
And there's a couple other things. I think there was a couple of murders over in Japan where somebody used they use paraquat to kill somebody.
Wow.
It was kind of funny because we used to we've kind of lost our edge a little bit, so we're not like as funny as we used to be. But we used to just have a whole list of song titles that we'd come up with even before. So a lot of our songs, the title of the song has nothing to do with the lyrical content. That's just the name we gave it. And we've had the name Paraquat has been on the list for years. So, when we did that last recording, which is a couple of years ago now, and that was one of the songs, right? This one's song is going to be called Paraquat. And though I was able to do some research and kind of, made the lyrics relate somewhat to the name of the song.
Yeah, Witches of the 128th. I love the song, but that confused me a little too for the title.
Well, there is not too far from where I live. I live in West Seattle, and a couple of miles south on 128th. There was this family of these three women, and that lived in this house, and it would be, you could call them, they were feral, basically.
Wow.
And they lived, and there's some story, about they got the house. It may have been bequeathed to them sometime in the 80s, because we'd actually check the tax records on the house, and you'd see the women. There was the oldest one, and she was literally dressed in rags. She would have like couple 3 or 4 overcoats on. Her feet were covered in plastic bags wrapped in tape, and she'd shuffle along on a walker. And then there was the middle one, and then there was the younger one, and the younger one may even have only like been into her mid to late 20s, maybe even her early 30s. And we just called them the witches of 128th. And the older one actually, she passed away about a year and a half ago, and then the middle one and the younger one were still living in the house. And now the younger one I don't see, and I haven't seen the middle one around for a while. But you'd go to the grocery store, and you'd be behind these women. It's like, oh my, the stench was just like unbelievable.
So they were like homeless.
I don't live. That neighborhood's a little bit farther away from where I am, but I'm sure that people that live down there, literally with that house. And when you pull up the tax records, you can look at the plans of the house. It's just like this little box, and literally the house, the roof was covered in a tarp. The windows were all broken out, covered in cardboard. Whether or not they even had any electricity or water going to the house is, I don't know.
Probably
Interesting story.
They were like homeless, but they had a home. It's really bizarre.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Very Black Sabbath-y, witchy. I agree very much.
Yeah.
So, as well as that, you've also got me wanting to make cocktails. Tell me how the Wicker Bar started. I love that series.
That was kind of like my COVID project. Okay. Yeah. First I just started filming. A lot of people were doing that kind of stuff. So I just started filming goofy stuff in the house, and then I just started getting into these cocktails. So I went through all of our cookbooks and stuff, and I pulled out. It's like, God, my wife and I had a whole library of vintage cocktail books that we'd never gotten into. So then I just started accumulating all of those the ingredients needed to make those cocktails. And I had the space down in my basement, and I had the plywood, so I went ahead and I set up a little. So it's kind of like I have a little studio set down in my basement, and and then I had the plans to build a bar, and then we were at an antique mall, and there was a bar that was like turned around, so it didn't look like it was a bar. It looked like it was a bookshelf, and on that particular day, everything was 25% off at this antique mall. It's like, well, I'm going to buy this. And then our nephew came over. He said, well, you should call it the Wicker Bar. So I'm not afraid to share other people's ideas of what I need to do, but that was a good one. So then I did it, and I put out a book just because it's kind of like being in a band, so I put together a cocktail book and put that out on my own, and it's all for fun.
I like when you take a sip and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the cocktails that we do are they're considered like Prohibition era
Okay, yeah.
cocktails, so they're really, really, really booze heavy. And if you go through like some of the, like the gin section, so many of the cocktails are very, very similar, but one just has a dash or a drop or something of some ingredients, and it's like some of them can be they're pretty strong. And back in the day, people that back in those days, even if you watch like Leave It to Beaver or anything like that, when they're going out to meet people for dinner, they don't meet till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So it was kind of the whole social thing of going out at night was like really going out at night.
Yeah.
Unlike for me now, it's like I go out, it's like at 6 or 7 o'clock, and I hope that I'm home by 10.
That's how we are. Really.
Yeah, same.
With very, very few exceptions. I did go out with our drummer Chris. It was his birthday on Wednesday, and we went out to see a band called Bewitcher from Portland, another band called Worm Witch from Vancouver, BC, and another band called Death Cave from here in Seattle. And I was a little punchy. On Thursday morning.
Yeah, we're friends with Cody from Worm Witch. He's been on the show. Yeah.
Okay. Great band. It was a really, great show. And that's.
I wonder if somebody out there is saying, you know what, that cocktail guy's great, and I heard he does some music.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, intuitively, that's what you would think, and that's what like bands, they want to come to Seattle and they want to play with this because they think it's going to be a good show, and it's like things, they don't really work that way so much anymore. So you'd think that whatever, I'm like this icon and I'd have all these followers and I'd be making money off of YouTube, but no, I'm like anybody else. I get 20 or 30 people watching my videos every week or so, and that's fine because I'm just doing it to have fun.
It's kind of like, have you ever seen that video? It's on YouTube that Buzzo from the Melvins did, where he's shopping this giant mansion, and it's the real estate broker that sells mansions to all the big stars. And then it's time to pay, talk about payment. And he gets this little box and he's got all these magazine clippings because his currency is influence. I'm influential. There would be no Nirvana without me. It's hysterical. The lady storms out. It's great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a similar story about somebody else that I played music with that did something like that, but like really thought it was going to provide him with a new Mercedes or a BMW from a local dealer.
Really?
So, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
It looked like for a while, at least a post from 2019, that you were still having issues with, it sounds like Voldemort, he who must not be named. Has that been resolved?
No.
Really?
It's never going to be resolved.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's most unfortunate because we stopped playing with them. That was like 16 or 17 years ago. And they, when you're in that situation, it was 3 guys that were playing with one guy, and we stopped playing with the one guy. So there was some problems with that one person. And when you're involved in relationships with people, especially when you're in a band, it's like, we're doing this to have fun, and it's not like we're getting paid 10 or 20 grand a night where that's fine, you're an asshole and I can be around you because I'm making so much money. But we're doing this to have fun, and if you're doing it with somebody and you're not having fun, then you're not going to do it. And that whole thing, and it still goes on now because he resents the fact that I don't know what he thinks because I'm not in communication with him, but we play the Accused songs now because people have asked us to do it. Yeah. That's why we're doing it. We don't have a manager. We're not out soliciting or begging for shows. People, they contact us. They want us to do stuff. It's like, it's opportunity. You don't get presented with opportunity that often. And I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to offend this person. But if somebody's saying, hey, you guys want to do this? It's like, well, yeah, of course we do.
Yeah. You guys you've got the zeitgeist of the Accused. I was telling a friend of mine, we were talking about it the other day. I said, the Accused AD stuff and the toe tag stuff, it's kind of like when Bruce did Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding. And you were like, this is almost better than Maiden. It's got all the right characters. It's, fuck Iron Maiden. And then of course Maiden came back and whatever, but that's kind of the way I view your stuff. It's like there's something about it. It's almost better than the original. I don't know.
And what you were saying earlier to me, to us, you are the accused.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, I've always said
You
that.
are.
I've always said
Well,
that.
That's why I like to refer to it now as like what the splatter rock era is, and that's from the time that I joined the band, and then when we had Alex in the band, that's the time that people are most most familiar with that music, and that's what he who shall not be named has done is he's tried to cleanse the history that we weren't part of that, and he sent letters or contacted shows that we've done and where we can't toe tag can't be billed as featuring ex or former members of the accused.
Wow.
And then a few years ago, I think in like 2018, Lamb of God covered that the Accused song "Inherit the Earth." Well, that's not a song that he wrote. I wrote those lyrics, and him and Alex wrote the music for that. But if you look at how it's credited now, he's taken all of the credit. So when one's taking all of the credit, one is if there's any money to be paid out, he's taken all of that money, and it's kind of like it's a squirrely thing, and I don't burning bridges and losing friends and all of that. For $500 or $1,000, people say you guys are making money off this. It's like, dude, we're not making any money off of this. It costs money to do this. It costs money to fly somewhere.
He's reading from the book of Greg Ginn. Is what he's doing.
Yeah. There's not, it's just not like that. And and it's kind of sad, and it's unfortunate because we Alex and myself we've moved on in our lives. I've been married. I've been with the same gal for 30 years. I bought a house a long time ago. I've had a business that's closed. I mean, we've all done stuff, and we've moved on, and the music is just kind of like it's a side. It's the same as like back in the 50s, guys went bowling or sat around and played poker with their friends. This is what we do. We practice here in my basement. We jam two nights a week.
You got to live stream that.
we've done a couple of toe tag live streams.
Ooh,
that's cool.
Yeah, they're on YouTube. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do our first Mark hold shit up thing. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Hopefully you can see this.
Yeah, the Black Nasty.
Yeah, let's hear it. What do you have to say about it?
That was a lot of fun. That was kind of like right after we did like we tried to do a reunion thing with the Accused around that 91. No, I guess more like 92 or something like that, and that didn't pan out. Yeah. And at that same time, I was doing this thing called the Black Nasty, and there were just with some local friends of mine. Todd Thermo Ferkingstat was the guitar player. Roy Whoopi Winston, who was in a Seattle band called Morpheus that we did a split single with, and then the bass player was Jerry Irwin, aka Jerry Rejector, who was in a punk band from Seattle called the Rejectors in the early 80s. And then Jerry brought along another guy, Brian Fritz, who ended up being the second guitar player. That was kind of like around the time when the whole grunge thing was happening, and I think we didn't do too many shows. I think we maybe only played like here in the city of Seattle, maybe once. There wasn't really, Blaine didn't hold a lot of weight, so I wasn't, we weren't getting any good shows or anything because I've got such a big ego. Yeah, and we're hopefully we're going to put that CD out. We're supposed to be putting that out on vinyl, so we're just waiting to make that happen.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Sabbath because when that Accused AD album came out, I kept thinking I hear a lot of Sabbath in this record. I mean, it's it's as opposed to the old Accused, which not as prevalent, but definitely a lot of Sabbath in the Accused.
Like Sabbath and Saint Vitus and the Skull and more contemporary like the Sword.
Yeah, kind of doomy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of
that's our marijuana influence in there.
Like years of pot smoking, right?
Yeah, right.
With the demise of Zippy's Burgers, which we were sad to hear about.
Yeah.
Do you think you would do another restaurant/bar type venture?
No. No, if it would have, if the restaurant would have ended in such a way where we would have walked away with some money, I would. But I mean, right now, I mean, I'm at a point in my life where I can't, I have some money saved, and I can't, bank
Yeah.
on that just because I've got a whim to do something. And the whole economy and the workforce is really changed over the years. And that was one of the difficulties that we were having was getting people that were reliable
Yeah.
to work. I mean, we had probably a good portion of our staff that they called out or didn't show up more often than they actually showed up for a shift.
Yeah.
And the minimum wage here in Seattle, if you're not paying people at least $20 an hour,
Wow.
and kind of our vision was, when we started, we did everything that we could to really retain staff and make it as attractive for them as we could. But eventually, you're only bringing in so much money, and you can only put so much out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. I've been in the restaurant business myself, and it was so hard through, the pandemic, and they, shut us down for inside seating, and
Yeah.
for a while we were shut down. But it's like even the complex I work in now, like I work for a doctor's office, all the restaurants are gone. They're all
Yeah.
closed. And the last one closed exactly for what you said. They said they could not get help.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
0 restaurants in our complex right now.
Yeah.
Two are just gutted,
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah. And I think, when people go out to restaurants, I think they see this stuff on the news, but they're not putting two and two together. It's like when you go someplace, it's like, I mean, there's no magical place that restaurants go to buy their product from that's really less expensive than what you're buying for your home.
Right.
During the pandemic, I was having to order stuff through Amazon just because I couldn't get it through normal channels.
Yeah. Wow.
So going back to like Toe Tag and Accused AD, what are your most requested songs that people ask you to play?
Scared of the Dark by The Accused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people aren't really necessarily all that familiar with the Toe Tag material. We were doing that for so many years. I mean, we'd run into people that said we had no idea that you were even doing this,
Wow.
just because it's like the way information gets out these days is totally different. There's so many avenues that if you're not really synced up with what's hip and new, people just aren't even going to know that you're even doing it.
It's so crazy. I was playing, your stuff at the office, when we didn't have patients, and a couple of people came up to me and asked me what it was, like younger people, and they were like, "Oh my God, how were they not huge?" And I'm like, they should have been. I can't explain it. They're great.
All right, I'm gonna hold this up.
Okay. Yes.
Remember
See,
this
and that's
album? Yeah.
that's another one of those things that he who should not be named released a whole lot of product
Okay.
without sharing the dollars with everybody. And
Ah.
some of the stuff that we did, so the bake tapes was that was a bunch of master tapes that we had, and Jack and Dino, and I don't know if he invented this technique or whatever, but he came up with this technique where you'd put the tapes in an oven at a very, very low temperature, because as the master tapes, your quarter-inch, half-inch, 2-inch tape or whatever, as they get older, the magnetic iron oxide, whatever stuff, starts to come away from the tape itself. So he would put it in the oven, and it would kind of lock it onto there, so that at least you could get a couple of 2 or 3 more spins on it, if you needed to try to do some remastering or transfer to a different format.
I think he did invent it, because I used to spend hours reading his website. It was so fascinating. I mean, he would talk about the bands that would show up and they didn't have anything written, and just, I mean, the stories the man had and of course all the stuff with Nirvana and everything. Just, I always thought Jack Endino was, first of all, every time he's producing an album, I breathe like a sigh of relief, because I'm like, all right, it's going to kick ass, because Jack knows how to produce,
He does.
But the stories on that website and about, read this before you're thinking about making an album. It was just, it's so great. It's probably still out there, but
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. He's the go-to person that even when we were doing the stuff with the farts, 20 some years ago, the last things we did, we work with Jack, and it's one of those things where he knows us and we know him. I don't know. But yeah, we've got a good relationship with him.
I was bugging him when he was doing that album with High on Fire, because I couldn't wait to hear it. And he would tease me. He would say, "Look, Farfisa, Oregon," and I'm like, "I gotta know, what are you doing with Matt? And then it's going to be an Oregon on a High on Fire." Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, Jack and Dino, big Jack and Dino fan.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to play our game?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So I have a game. It's called Really Random Questions.
Okay.
I guess we'll use this. So I have questions 1 through 85. So I want you to pick 5 numbers and they'll correspond to questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do 43, 13, 29, 63, 71.
All right, I think that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Okay, we're
That's
good.
fine.
Okay.
So let's see. Oh, this one because these are different ones, right?
Yep.
Number 43. What criticism of you would your friends most likely bring up?
I don't know. They don't bring up their criticisms of me in person. They talk about that when I've left the room.
Well, that's not a bad thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
The most popular answer to that is that I'm not like I used to be when I was younger, that I'm not willing to go out and stay out late. And we get a lot of that as a response to that.
Oh, well, I'm definitely not. If I was the way that I was when I was younger, I wouldn't be alive. I'd be in jail, or I'd have AIDS or herpes or something like that.
I have this friend that whenever I tell a story about like when we went to Lollapalooza or whatever, he'll be like, "What, the fun mark? Are we talking about the fun mark?" And I'm like, "Fuck off, okay."
Yeah.
I'm 51 years old. Give me a break, all right?
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway.
number 13. If you were a kind of cheese, what kind of cheese would you be?
White cheddar.
Aged perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah, a nice white cheddar. Probably one from an Irish one from Ireland.
Maybe a little sharp, huh?
Yeah, just a bit. I can be. My wife will attest to that.
Number 29. What flat screen size is too big in your opinion?
Well, actually, we have a projector, so our flat screen TV is about 8 feet wide by
Wow. So there is none.
by 4 feet tall. So I just can't believe we were at the Walmart over the weekend, and you get a 63-inch flat screen TV for $298. It's just like fucking insane. And even if the thing only lasts 2 years, it's like, whoa.
I know. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. All right, so we're up to number, let's see, 63. If roses are red, why are violets blue?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mother Nature about that one.
Have to go back to the maker, the artist.
Yeah.
Number 71. What is the first record or CD that you bought yourself?
Ooh, the first record that I bought for myself. It might have been Kiss Alive. No, Kiss Alive 2, no. Destroyer, Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever, something there. I couldn't tell you what the exact.
It's in the 77, 78 kind of era there. Something.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah, probably 77.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to tell you, I I've always wanted to do a show called "This Is the Worst Music I've Ever Heard," right? And the reason why is because The Accused, along with many other records that I cherish upstairs, I ran out and bought because I read a review that said, "This is the worst music ever made." It was for it was for Martha Splatterhead. It was for the first one. I remember being at work and reading that and being like, I'm buying this today. Because that's the way to get me. Say it's the worst thing ever. I mean, I could rattle off a list, but yeah, you guys are definitely one that couldn't believe that anyone didn't like it. And yet the draw was the worst music I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So do you see a future like of younger bands kind of with the splattercore type thing, like that were influenced by you guys coming up?
Most definitely. I mean, like, a band like Municipal Waste. I mean, they're fans of ours. I mean, that whole crossover thing has become something different. It's now called crossover, but it's not. You're really not crossing over with anything. But I mean, I think there's a whole movement that's probably been going on for maybe the past 15 years or so of people that are into that. The DRI, the cryptic slaughter, the corrosion of conformity, all of that really, really early stuff. We're having an opportunity. We prefer to play with younger bands because they still like to party a little bit, and so do we. But there's a band that we played with from Portland called Chaotic Injustice. And these guys, they completely embrace. I mean, they've all just turned 21, and they just completely embrace that 1980s thing. God, we smoke more weed than anybody down in Portland. It's like, yeah, okay, well, all right, guys, and they got the fanny bags on, and they've got the old camcorder, and the whole thing with there's like this resurgence of cassette tapes. Everybody's putting out a cassette now. I don't know. I'm just hoping it kind of goes back to where people are more into like something that they can touch, versus all this stuff that's on digital that is really, really fleeting, and you don't really own it, and you can't. Yeah.
Zombie apocalypse happens. You're not going to be able to listen to it.
Right. You're gonna need some batteries, a little close and play record player. You can put your 33s on there and make it happen.
What was the process for picking? Because you always have like the way you had Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, and the way you had Devil Woman. Like, what was there like a list of 60s and 70s covers, and then you'd pick the best one, or what was the process? I mean,
it's usually just one that I think Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, it was just one that we just started playing at practice for some reason. Somebody just started playing it, and it's like, all right, let's learn that one. Devil Woman, way back when, that was a girlfriend of mine at that point in time that wanted us to do that one. Green Eyed Lady, I mean, it's just one that we just there's no major process in anything.
That's awesome.
We do.
Awesome. We used to play that 10 years after cover. You used to do the I'd Love to Change the World. I used to play that at the end of beer parties to get people to fucking leave. I would be like, this song is going to be on repeat until you all leave.
Oh, our version, or the 10 years after?
No, your version. Yeah, you screaming the paint off the walls. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it worked too. I would see people go, and then they'd be gone. Yeah. So that, and if that didn't work, we'd pull the shags out, and that always cleared the room.
You're not planning a show like December 4th or 5th, are you?
In Seattle? No, I think we're playing December 10th. It's here in Seattle.
We have to go out there for a business trip. So
we're only going to be there like one night, though.
Yeah. So
what night?
4th.
The 4th. Yeah. We'll be out.
What day is that? Friday.
It's Sunday into Monday. Yeah. So.
Oh, well, if are you leaving on the Monday or Tuesday?
We're leaving. We're flying in Sunday night, and then
you have to work.
I have to work in the morning, and then after work, we're driving down to Eugene. So
that's a hoof.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, shoot.
I know.
Against hope.
It never works out. I've given up on trying to make these business trips into a rock and roll thing.
Baltimore. So I guess we'll have to catch a live stream or the next time we're happy to be in Seattle. Plan it better.
Yep.
You have more things over there?
I'm just hold up one more. And again, I don't know if you were involved in this or if it was the other, but
Oh yeah, that's what is that Fast Zombies Rule that's on that one? Yeah.
Split.
No, I think I was kind of involved with that one. That one had, I think, Jason Potbelly, the guy that's in Potbelly. He's very involved in the scene, and he's always putting out records. So I know we did. That originally came out when we were still together, and then he re-released it with a different cover. I think that might be the second cover. I think the first cover is just black and white art.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Potbelly.
Well, I'm a newer fan. He's been a fan obviously a long time, but you guys really nail it every time. So
Well, thank you.
hopefully we'll catch you guys at some point. I'd love to see you guys.
Yeah,
live.
some East Coast tour would be great. Philly or Baltimore will be there. Yeah.
The Sounds of Decay!
Okay, Sounds of Decay time. All right, I teased this a little bit earlier in the show. The band is Suppression from Chile. They've been active since 2012. Only 2 demos and an EP under their belt before this album. This is an unbelievable slab of old school death metal. The sorrow of soul through flesh.
Yeah, they seem to take a break for 9-10 years.
Oh yeah, I looked at that. Yeah. Now I'm a little embarrassed because this one's been out since April, but I really just discovered it last month. And this is an incredible record. I mean, it's like they took all of Chuck Schuldner's albums, all their different styles, melted them down and injected them into their veins. I mean, these are just riffs that do not quit. Bass lines kind of remind me of Atheist a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Song titles like Unperpetual Misery and Self-Eaten Alive. What does that mean? The only problem is it's only available on CD right now, and all the vinyl copies I think have been gobbled up. If anybody would like to send me one, I would definitely take a copy of the latest Suppression record. Hats off to this young 4-piece that they sort of came out of nowhere, one of the year's best and most brutal records.
Yeah, I think this was also a gift to us. It seems like the pandemic kind of got them back together.
And it's another one like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they added their new vocalist, Alessandro Cruz, and rounded out their, lineup and came up with, some real guitar ingenuity. You got the fretless warm bass. It's a really neat album.
Someone's heard some Watchtower records. You introduced the song?
All right. This is a song from Suppression called Lifelessness. For our Songs of Decay, from our Sounds of Decay number 2, this is Dawn of Ashes from Los Angeles. Now, this is some demented music.
It's a pastiche of horror themes, industrial beats, black metal leanings, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Think about the twisted offspring of Dimmu Borgir, fused with the sexiness of, say, Motionless in White.
Yeah, that's good.
Song titles like Love is Asphyxiation and Bane of Your Existence, and lots of dark synthetic trapdoors, noisy segments to go with the punishing metallics. This band has actually been around for over 2 decades, and this is their 10th full-length album, Scars of the Broken.
It makes the Nastiest Swans record that you like sound like squeaky bath toys. Why don't we play a song from Dawn of Ashes, The Despondent Hole, which would be a good way of describing the girl that I took to senior prom. Okay, Sounds of Decay 3. What better way to close out a show than with some Italian doom?
I love their album covers. I love the purple.
Look at
I
this
love the
artwork.
skulls.
It kind of lines up with what's behind us. Yeah. The band is Black Spell. This is their 3rd full-length, Season of the Damned. It's a damn near perfect, witchy, Sabbathy, pentagram worshipping, bell-bottom swaying slab of sleazy doom metal. I love it.
Yeah, I also like on their credits, one of the guys, their names are all Skull. Pierre Skull, Johann Skull, and Alistar's skull, but Alistar is listed as guitar, vocals, and organ.
Why don't we call you Bruce just to make it easy? Is there any doubt whatsoever when you look at this album cover? I mean, that the fuzzy guitar and funky bass isn't the perfect soundtrack for some bad decisions. I mean, this is Doom the way it is meant to be played. Because it was hard to pick a song to play. I was torn between We Drink Your Blood, also Temple of Drugged Sorceries. Well, we're going to stick with the opener. Why don't you introduce it?
This is the song we picked. It is Black Spell, Satanic Majesty.
Yes. Oh dear. It would appear that we're nearly out of time. We've covered so much.
Things come and go so quickly here.
They do. We've talked about getting a discount on a dating app. Or possibly...
Cremation?
Yeah. We've talked about getting a discount on a cremation. We've talked about some names that you'd love to hear them say over the PA.
We talked about holiday shopping, and also we talked about the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, we did.
We talked about locksmiths.
We almost went and hung out with Blaine while we were out there. We couldn't quite get the timing right.
No, and our flight out got super delayed twice because we had a transfer. So by the time we got out there, it was 11 o'clock in Seattle and 2 a.m. to our bodies. I think we checked in the hotel room and fell into bed, and we had to get up the next morning. You had to work, and then we had to get on the 5-hour drive to Eugene. So
it never works out. There's only one time that I've ever been able to combine like business with pleasure. And it was back in the early 2000s. I had to fly out to LA to for something for customer for logistics. And the guys from Mother Superior actually met me at Amoeba Records, and they took me on a tour of the Sunset Strip, and it was great. And we smoked a lot of pot, and that was wonderful. But it's really hard to get a business trip to line up with a rock and roll excursion. So anyway.
So that didn't work out, but hopefully next time.
Yep. We'd love to see you, Blaine.
This has been the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast. A special thanks to the Lord Zippy Blaine Cook for the interview, the great music that keeps on coming, and also now the great drink recipes. Check out the Wicker Bar and Toe Tag and Accused AD. Snaggletooth theme courtesy of Gustav Jord of Defleshed. Sounds of Decay theme courtesy of Steve Rathbone from Lair of the Minotaur. Our Decay bands, all of them roll, are Black Spell, Dawn of the Ashes, and Suppression. All content 2022, the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast.
Ho fucking ho.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.
Jackie Wilson said